Hi, everybody. This is Veronica Valley.
And this is Chip Summers.
Welcome to our Q&A support session for you guys. Let us know if you're watching this. Let us know where you are and what your name is and where you're listening from. And if you've got questions, go ahead and just put them in the comment section. So we'll answer your questions. Put them in the comments and we'll give you our best answer. So we have a couple to start with because we have lots of questions around sobriety and anxiety in this particular period of time.
Sure.
So someone messaged me and asked about staying sober and dealing with other people when you're in lockdown with them.
Yeah, it's going to be very different. I think this is going to be... I've always said right from the start of this, I think most people will be able to manage a couple of weeks because everybody goes on holiday for a couple of weeks and they're fine and they usually manage that because there's lots of distractions. I think if there are little cracks in a relationship, being together so much is going to mean that if you are not dealing with them, they're going to start to get bigger and bigger. So it's really, really important that because I think there's going to be a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of your partner than you ever used to. So I am a great advocate of having either a code word or a code phrase or something or a room that just says, I want to be left alone. This is nothing to do with you. It's not personal. I just need a bit of private space because private space is going to be at a premium. Because there's going to be very little opportunity to have somewhere where you can just go and be on your own. And I think having a phrase or a code that kind of allows you just to kind of go, okay, I'm going to go here. It's got nothing to do with you. I just need a bit of time. And my wife and I have it. You know, we just say, look, I'm just not in a great space. I need to just have a quiet. And we know to leave each other alone. And it's worked really well over the years because we just get some... And I think I would be starting to have that discussion now because this could go on for many, many more weeks. And it's no good waiting for it until it goes wrong before you start doing things like that. I would try and do that at the beginning. Have an agreement at the beginning that if it starts to get tense, you know, I want to be able to sort of take a time out almost and just go and get some private space because I think that's going to be something that people are going to really lose out on.
I agree. I think now is the time, whoever you are in lockdown with, is to just have an honest conversation and not pretend. I think that's what happens a lot is we don't say what we really feel. So just say it really simply that, look, we're going to have days where both of us just need some space from each other and time to ourselves. So if I go and do that, know that it's not personal. You don't have to fix anything. You don't have to do anything. I just need some time on my own. I did this on Monday. Monday, I didn't have a great day. I had PMS and I was like, I just knew I wanted to break things. Like I just was so... and my husband was great. And I told him, I said, I'm really premenstrual. I just really am not in a good space today. And he said, do you want me to put the kids to bed and just like you can go upstairs and watch something on the iPad? I said, yes. And then what happened was just as we were going to do that, his best friend called from Australia, which is like when he calls, he always takes the call. I understand that. And I had two choices. One was to go, oh, bugger, that's me screwed. I have to get the kids to bed. Or I'm going to put the TV on for the kids. He'll have a 30-minute conversation. He can do it afterwards. Normally, I'd have put the kids to bed. Now, obviously, they don't have school or anything. So this time I went, you know what? The kids are going to be fine. I need time. I really just need time. And I went to bed. I had like 3 hours. I watched the shows I wanted to watch on my own. And I felt so much better. Yeah. So it's really about kind of knowing where you're at your limit and asking for your needs to be met.
But you're right. That needs to be happening now.
Yes.
It's you need to be making whatever arrangement you're going to make now. Whether it's a room in the house where you go, whether it's just a space, whatever. If you haven't got a spare room, just make a little corner somewhere where you can, if you're in a little flat somewhere, but do it now. Don't leave it until it's too late because it could easily get quite tense. You're going to see a lot more of your partner than you ever have before. I would be, as he said, I would be having that conversation now rather than than later on. Yeah.
So Titania said, on the flip side, there are people that live alone and are feeling the isolation, and that's a really good point as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think being on your own is a difficult thing, and being at sobriety to try and do that on your own is very difficult. There are beginning to be a lot of online support groups. I mean, certainly we run a support group that's sort of online, but there are other kind of slightly more fun ones. There's one called House Party. I think I'm told that it's quite entertaining, but I've never been there. But I think there are all kinds of things that you can do online. But now's the time to contact people that you might not have. I mean, I've got a friend in Sweden. I hardly ever call him. I've been calling him twice a week lately because he's a really, really good friend, but just we get lazy because I get busy. But if you're on your own, maybe think about journaling, maybe think about doing things that you've put off. I mean, it is difficult being on your own. There's no question about it. And you've got to reach out to people. People aren't going to come knocking on your door. They may ask you if you're a very old person, but many of our listeners are I'm probably the oldest person on this thing. So they're not going to come knocking on your door and say, look, hey, you're lonely, you need someone to talk to. Hey, you've got to be proactive in that, I think. And ring people, just get in the practice of ringing people.
So, yes, I think being proactive is the most important thing here. So for sober people, there are right now tons of online support groups of all different kinds. I just had one in the Soberful Life online sobriety program. I just jumped off a call where we had over 20 people from all over the world. Now, I'm going to say online connection is never going to be as good as real life. However, it's a decent substitute. It's a decent substitute. So because our community gets to know each other quite well, I had my lady in Italy who I see on nearly every call. Like, we're beginning to feel connections with each other, and they really matter and are meaningful. So I think it's you need, if you're living on your own right now, you need to be very purposeful at attending some online groups and also making sure you're FaceTiming or calling your loved ones. But do it in a way so if you're going to do online groups, show up so people can get to know you. It's like, don't sit in the back seat and not say anything. Like, say what you're struggling with, all of that kind of stuff. It's a decent alternative. I felt a lot of, I've been doing FaceTimes and stuff with people and I felt the closeness. I felt like it's really helped my day just having that conversation.
Yeah, so, and I've noticed the same thing. I mean, it isn't the same as face-to-face stuff. It's not the same, but as you said, it's by far better than nothing at all. And what I've noticed with the group is that the people who attend regularly, they kind of get to know each other. So we're all beginning to get to know each other's traits and difficulties, so that, we know that certain people are going through some marital problems, and we know that somebody else is living on. We're getting to know each other because they're turning up regularly. I think if you just turn up once, that's fine, but I would really recommend that you try and turn up regularly, because the more regularly you turn up, the more you're going to get to know people, and obviously that's going to help with your isolation. So, but we're not the only show in town. There are other groups that you can join, and good luck with them, because. Yeah. So there's a question here from Catherine who's saying, my cravings are pretty manageable right now. Thinking about lining up outside to get wine squashes my cravings pretty quickly. But how do I prepare for when life goes back to normal? Well, do you want to answer that first? Well, I think this is good. I've just been having a conversation with somebody. I think this is going to be a big issue for people. I think people are slowly beginning to be drinking more now than they ever used to, and that's going to be difficult when things go back to normal. But in terms of, we just had this discussion, is that people are beginning to say much more that this is beginning to wear them down if they're in recovery. It's beginning to wear them down, and they are beginning to feel that kind of need to kind of squash that feeling growing. And obviously what I've encouraged them to do is to try to verbalize it, because by voicing it, you disempower it almost completely. It's when you have that thought about drinking or craving and you keep it to yourself, it kind of festers inside, and that doesn't help at all. So I would always try and voice it wherever you can. But I do think there's going to be an increase gradually as this goes on and on. People are going to get more and more tense, more and more stressed, and we always know what we used to do when we got tense and stressed. And I think the readjustment, whenever that does come, is going to be a very difficult thing for a lot of people, how to readjust to normal life. And things may not ever return to how it was, because the whole work dynamic might be difficult and might be different. The whole people may have decided to work differently. It's going to be difficult. But for now, always voice it if you have a craving.
So, Catherine, what I want to say is, if it doesn't matter what the circumstances, if all you are doing right now is not drinking, it's not enough. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. So for all of us right now, the investment we put into our mental and emotional well-being is essential for getting through each day, but is really important for how we come out of this, because this will end. Yep. So Chip and I have always had this message, and it hasn't really changed. There's so much more to stopping drinking than just not drinking. So the cravings, for a lot of people experience, the cravings are there because we use alcohol to deal with uncomfortable and difficult feelings. So that's the deeper work that has to be done to overcome an alcohol problem. So I'm going to say, Catherine, now is the perfect time to do that. I mean, by all means, come and join us in Soberful Life. We have a whole program there and lots of support and community. The link, by the way, should be in the description or at the top of the Facebook page. That's where we do this work. That's where we work on boundaries and cravings and triggers and all of that kind of stuff. Stopping drinking is just not enough.
Yeah, without doubt, I'll support that in just saying, if it was just about alcohol, it would be so easy to deal with people with alcohol problems. You'd just take them away somewhere, detox them, and that would be the end of the problem. But it's when you don't have the alcohol that everything starts to emerge, all those reasons that you drank in the first place. It's so much more than just about alcohol. In fact, if anything, although people don't really feel that at the beginning, that's almost the easiest bit. Although obviously at the beginning you don't think it is, you think it's the hardest bit. But once you've got over the first few weeks, that's when the feelings that you originally drank on start to re-emerge, and that's when the work has to be done. If you don't do the work, I think you're going to struggle, yeah.
Okay, great. And Catherine said she is in a program. That's good.
Great.
Kristen's saying, I'm an isolator and I'm feeling the pull of isolation. I have joined groups, but then I feel very hesitant to join in, participate in the live part. So Kristen, I know, because I've seen your name come up. I have seen you. And so what I want to do is I want to say this is an invitation. You know, it's different for everybody. Now, I'm going to say I'm a real extrovert, and this is a bit of a struggle for me. Like, I go for a run and I'll pass someone walking their dog and I'll be like, hi, how are you? As for extroverts, this is a really tough time. So if you're an introvert and you know, you like all this time on your own, then it's probably great. But we all need to be around other people. Kristen, I want to say that the pull of isolation can be there for all of us, because sometimes it just feels easier. But I really want to invite you to come up and fill this space that only you can fill in whatever group it is. And you know what? To support you, I want to say that. Put it in the chat in the next group you're in, if it's with me or whoever. Say, I'm here, I really want to participate, but I'm so nervous about doing that. Just say that. Honestly, if someone says that, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, how can I help that be more comfortable for you? It's just like, honestly, if I was at a 12-step meeting and I saw someone hovering by the door looking really nervous, I would clock that and go over and be like, hi, do you want to come in and sit next to me? It's kind of like an online version of that. So just let people know how you're feeling and they'll help.
Yeah, I really feel for, I don't know whether Christian is male or female, but I really feel for them, because it's such a difficult one to force your way out of. Once you kind of get into that, oh God, I'm really alone and I'm really... But just turn up. And just turn up and watch, and maybe you'll hear something at the very least. That will help. But I do understand that it's a bit like when I can't think of something what it's like, but it's a difficult one to sort of break out of. But I would just say show up, have a look around, and you don't have to give the Gettysburg Address. You just have to sort of say, "Hi, my name is Christian," and I'm here. That's all. Yeah. You don't even have to say that. Just come along and be part of it.
Yeah, I'm going to say, Kristen, trust me. If you just say, "Hi, I'm just really nervous. I want to get to know people, but it's really scary for me," people will be like, well, people will get that, and people will help you. I know if you're in one of my groups, I will. So yeah, just
I will too.
Yeah,
I will
too.
Chip will. Yeah, I will as well.
Chip will too.
I will too. Yeah.
All right, I have another question here from Terry, who's saying, "I'm amazingly not having a hard time not drinking. I guess what Chekhov said was right. I don't know. What did Chekhov say? But my emotions are all over the place. Crying for no reason, happy, then sad, and then just all over the place." So I would say a couple of things about that, Terry. First of all, it kind of goes back to what I was saying to Catherine. Like, just stopping drinking is not enough. You need to do some deeper work. Have you done any of that? Are you doing any of that? But I also want to say, I felt like I've had days where I felt a little all over the place too. This is a crisis situation. We're not going to go from, like, if you all think a month ago, like the 4th of March, where we were and where we are now, we're not in the transition of that is very normal. Now, here's the thing to know. The entire world right now is in the grief process. We are all in the process of grief, and we're all at different stages of it. And a lot of us are still in the shock, can't believe it, and the bargaining denial bit, like, surely no, it's all going to be. Some of us are in sadness, some of us are in anger, some of us are in acceptance. And I've spent a lot of time in acceptance, but I've been in sadness, and I've been in anger, and I've been in bargaining. So you are in a process right now, and it's just important to know that that is what is happening, because this was such a massive, huge change that happened to everybody. Our brains and emotions haven't quite caught up with it.
Yep, and I found the emotional roller coaster just absolutely exhausting. I mean, I could wake up feeling fantastic. 10 minutes later, something would happen, I'd feel lousy. Then I'd hear some music, I'd feel great again. I could be up and down all day long, all kinds of different moods, and it used to be really tiring.
Yeah. So that's what everybody needs to know is we are in process, and to kind of, it's helpful, I think, to understand where you are in your process. Otherwise, it just feels like we're assaulted by feelings. We are in an emotional process response to the event that is happening. It would not be human to not experience that. Yeah,
and we're also dealing with it in a way that a lot of other people aren't. We're dealing it in a very real way because we're not drinking, we're not smothering our feelings with alcohol, and therefore we are dealing with it in a very real and sometimes quite hard way. We're used to doing it in an easy way. If we feel bad, I know how to do that. I'll get some alcohol down me and I'll feel different. Now we're doing it without that, and so it can be difficult. But I mean, stick with it, and I know it's a cliche, but you will get stronger for doing so.
Michelle, you've asked a question, but I actually don't quite understand what you're asking. So if you just want to rephrase it, we'll try and answer it for you. Rebecca is saying, what do you think about all this lockdown normalised abnormal drinking? It's all over the place. People drinking at all times of the day like it's fine. It's so triggering for me. Surely people will potentially leave this lockdown with issues.
I think she's absolutely right. I was saying it this afternoon. I say people have started completely changing their drinking patterns. They're not at work any longer. They're drinking much earlier in the day. They're probably drinking for longer periods of time. If this goes on for a long period of time, let's say this goes on for 2 months, and people have got into a habit of drinking more for 2 months, at the end of that 2 months, they're going to have to readjust and drop down their alcohol consumption or continue. I foresee quite a few people with a lot of problems at the end of this period of time if they don't keep to... if they just start letting go, and it's such an easy thing to fall into if you do drink, drinking a bit more frequently, I think there are going to be problems in a couple of months' time with people readjusting.
So, yeah, I have been thinking about this as well, Rebecca. So I think a couple of things have been happening. So, like normal, really, the alcohol industry wants to make sure that its product is still being bought. So there's been a lot, I've seen a lot of that online, like normalization of like, oh, I have to stockpile all this alcohol because it's the only way we're going to get through it, and ha ha ha, and isn't that funny? So I think that we are going to come out of this with a real spike in alcohol problems, where a lot of people then develop alcohol problems that maybe they wouldn't have had, or maybe wouldn't have come around so quickly. So I think that that's going to happen. I think the other thing that's going to happen is we're going to have a traumatized healthcare profession.
Yep.
So I think our entire health profession will be traumatized by the work that they're doing on the front line. And I think I expect to see a spike in mental health problems and addiction issues in that profession also when this is all said and done.
Yeah, we're already seeing over here that kind of thing, but we're already seeing an increase in domestic abuse, which again was something that was inevitably going to happen and will continue to grow as this goes on for longer and longer. I foresee a lot more domestic abuse going on, and that's already happening over here.
Yeah, Michelle, I'm going to try and answer your question. I'm not okay. Let me like everyone. I'm reaching out to my problem relationships during this time. What number one thing should I be mindful of when I do this? My guilt is in overdrive at the moment. Thank you.
Is that going back to old boyfriends and girlfriends or old partners?
I don't know. I'm not certain what she's asking, but I guess I'm going to sort of go with guilt is in overdrive, feeling like if your guilt is in overdrive, let's make this about boundaries. If we have difficult relationships, whatever the situation is, we have to have boundaries, where boundaries is how we keep the good in and the bad out. And we're also not responsible for other people's feelings. So I think the other thing is to be mindful of is everybody else remember, everyone is in process right now. Everybody. So some people will be behaving badly. That's not okay. Here's Michelle's clarification. I have tough family dynamics, which I have worked hard on to feel fine with. I'm worried I won't see my parents again, and I'm feeling quite guilty. So reaching out more to them and having more weekly contact. Okay. I mean, I have the same situation. My mum's 81 and lives on her own in England, and wasn't taking this seriously and going out and doing things. And I don't know if I'm going to see my mum again. I don't know if that's going to,
I think a lot of people are reappraising perhaps relationships that were problematic, and they're kind of having a look at them because they are this could go on for some time, and I think people are kind of just reappraising some of those relationships, looking at them and seeing whether or not they want to change them. But definitely, I would always be careful when you're going back into a problematic relationship. Just be careful of your expectations. If it's been problematic, just be careful that you don't think, okay, I'm going to resolve it in a month. We'll just have lots of phone calls and we'll resolve it. The other person may not be prepared to do that. The other person may remain quite static. So I always ask people to be just a little bit careful, look after yourself, make sure that your expectations are not going to be disappointed, because there's nothing worse than going back into a problematic relationship and it just increasing the problems in that relationship because of the way the other people respond.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, Michelle. So in terms of my mum, I have the same very difficult relationship. I've spoken about it a lot on the podcast. She's in a completely different continent, so I'm doing what I can do. I'm calling and Skyping with her more regularly because she's on her own, and I can do that. And even sometimes that's triggering for me. I can just put the phone in front of the kids and they entertain her, but I know I need to do that for her, and I'm ordering her groceries and that kind of stuff. So all is expected of you, Michelle, is to do the best you can. But you still need to have boundaries. Sometimes my mum's called and I've said, Mum, I've got to work. I can't talk right now. And she wants to kind of chat for 30 minutes and I just can't. So we got to have boundaries. And, the reason that we have that distance is because of, how that relationship was in the past. So have boundaries, do the best you can, do what you can, and know that that's all that is required of you. Yeah. Okay, Laura's saying, okay, Laura, my love, reach out to me privately. Laura's a nurse and she says she relapsed out of fear. Now she's stopped in the last 4 days. Laura, I want to make sure we support you. I can imagine there's a lot of fear with what you're doing, and we would like to support you. So please know we're here for you. Can you message me privately? Fiona, I think we've got time for one or two more questions.
Okay.
I just slipped after hearing school is cancelled until the end of the year. Ugh, I'm debating joining the Soberful Life group, monthly or annual. You can do either. So let me tell you guys about the Soberful Life subscription group. It's $23.99. We wanted to make it as affordable as possible for everybody. What we normally do there is it's a community. We have people all over the world, but it's also a program. So it doesn't matter where you are in your sober journey, you can, there's workshops that you can attend. We have an intuitive eating program that's led by, actually, she's a nurse practitioner, where she, once a month, she has a workshop on how to, on intuitive eating. And that's because so many people with addiction issues have food issues as well. Chip and I both do workshops on different subjects. In fact, we're going to do one together towards the end of April on the true cost of drinking. So we're going to take you through a workshop on, and that's an exercise that really helps you deal with the fear of missing out. We have support groups. Now, we change things up a little bit, and we will probably do this for May as well, maybe even into June. Right now, we have 25 hours of support groups throughout April. So either Chip or I or another member of our team is doing an online support group where we can talk. I just did one. People showed up. We had people in Europe, people in all over the world, saying what they're struggling with, what they needed help with. Some people just wanted to say what was going on for them and how they felt, and connect with people and be heard, and have other people say, I feel like that too. So we have almost one group a day throughout April, and hopefully in May we'll have one group a day. So we changed things up right now to just make sure that we could give people support, and we're finding a lot of our members are showing up for them. So for Fiona and everyone else, I mean, whatever is works for you. If you do the monthly membership, $23.99, you cancel anytime. The annual membership, you get 10 months for the price of 12. But as soon as you join, you can access all of the support that's there. You can check the event schedule. You can all of the workshops that we've done over the last couple of years are in the library. So there's tons of information there on how to have boundaries, how to deal with difficult people. That stuff, that stuff's still relevant. Triggers, all of that kind of stuff. So enrollment closes next week, so check that out. But it's, what I just want to say about it is what's important to know about the Soberful Life online program is this is professionally led. Chip and I are both clinical psychotherapists. This is not a peer support program, which is great. Those are wonderful, but this is professionally led. So we will give you expert support and advice when you need it, however you show up. So thanks so much for joining us, everybody.
Thank you.
We are going to be back. We're going to do this again, I think, next week. We're going to set a date, and we'll be back to answer more questions and give you more support. But join Soberful Life today. You can come along to the next support group, and if it's not for you, you can cancel. If otherwise, I think it's a really, really super affordable way to get really, really good support right now. All right, everyone, take care.
Bye bye.